there. This is Marina Aris, the founder of the Brooklyn Writers Co., and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew, fabulous host. I hope you enjoy the episode and the show. It's fantastic. Subscribe to it. He's doing good work.
Today is episode 822. I'm here with the beautiful and talented Marina Aris. That's right, Marina Aris here on the KeithAndrewNetWork. Make sure to like and subscribe to the KeithAndrewNetWork. Hit that bell icon if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you're watching on Facebook. And as I always say, catch you later. So the first thing I want to start off with, everyone's favorite thing about me, what is the Keith Andrew Network? What is the Keith Andrew Network? The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities, and never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. To prove them you can step out to something. So hashtag break the label. So the first question I want to ask you, and for our viewers, you are beautiful, by the way. And I know I'm a bad flirt, but you're also a CEO, a publisher, and a writer. And it's very interesting that I have you on the show, because a lot of people say I should write a book, but I tried, my book was called, let's look at it like this. If it was meant to be a joke, I did a good job of it, because my brother used to poke fun at it. It's like, you can't, give me an example. Sorry, brain fart. So the book title was called When You Overcome Controversy, Dreams Do Come True, even if you have a learning disability. And that's the stupidest title I ever heard. First off, you can't overcome controversy. And also, you spell title wrong. And now I know title is like T-I-T-L-E. And they're at the time, right? Keith, spell title. T-I-T-T-L-E. It says that's tittle. So it says the tittle of the story and overcome controversy. But I was going to do it now, rewrite it. But I'm not a storyteller, so I would love to have you write my book if you're interested. Maybe we can work that out.
All right, we can talk about it. I think I should close the window for you. Is that all right?
No, it's up to you. I don't hear anything.
You don't? Okay, go. Oh, then we're good then. Okay.
So pretty much, for me, I'm like, oh, I did this in first grade and I did this in second grade. I'm like, I'm more bitching and complaining. This is not how you tell a story. It's like a diary. It's like, if you want, hey, here's my diary. But
you know what I think would be great? You said you've had this show for about 8 years. Is that right?
Yes.
So, even that story, the story of how you started and where you were 8 years ago to where you are now would be very interesting for people to read, I think.
No, you're absolutely right. See, you're smart and beautiful. But I'm not to put a damper on that. My mom said, wouldn't it be better to wait 2 years? Don't 2 years, and do a 10-year anniversary. It's like, okay, now you have something to accomplish. But I'm thinking, writing a book and the time it takes to edit it, especially if you're ghostwriting it, the time it's done, we can fill in the gaps of 10 years.
Yeah.
So the book will probably be done by 2023. So instead of doing it in 10 years, 2 years, and saying, oh, it's going to take a long process and the book's not going to come out when it's supposed to. So and if you think about it, 10 years actually is a solid number. And it kind of says, that's something there, 10 years. But then if you do it in 8 years, like, it's you have a wonderful story, but wouldn't it be great? Everyone has to poke their finger in it. They say, well, this is what I think, and now that's like saying. But I think 10 years actually sounds a lot better, personally.
Okay. Listen, it's a matter of personal preference, but also I think you always have to be willing to stand out. There's a flip side to every perspective, right? So while that's true, and I don't disagree with you, there can be wonderful things about it being 8 years, because then you can start to get a lot of people around your concept and community and be ready to celebrate with you in 2 years when the 10-year anniversary comes along. So I'm always looking for opportunities wherever my writers are, wherever they happen to be. I look for what can we do, regardless of what we think will sound better or look better. But I'm with you either way. So
No, absolutely. And like I said, we can always write it now, and we can make it sound like 10 years and wait until 2 years, then send it out. So it's good to write it now. And I don't know, we can always work out the details, but
yeah,
there's just
we have
not
some
about.
other tricks for you, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the
Okay.
first question I want to ask you is, how did you become a CEO, and what motivated you to become your own boss?
Yeah, okay. Well, first off, I don't call myself a CEO very often. I call myself a founder and a publisher and publishing strategist and podcaster and writer and author and speaker. So there are all these other titles. CEO is usually not one of them. However, if you wanted to get technical about it, yes, I do run my own company, and it happened by accident. I did not intend for this to happen. It just did, because I was following the dream and the passion of writing. I've always wanted to be a writer. And because I cared about it so much, and because I studied the industry so long, I became a resource for other writers. And then they started to say, hey, you know how this works? Great, help me. And so a business was born. That's how it happened.
No, for me, you mentioned the word opportunities. For me, I used to sit, I also had a dollar for every time I said this, with my family. I'm the youngest out of 4 brothers and 1 sister. And I used to be like, I don't know what to do with my life. And my brother before me say, I don't know what to do with my life. My dad's like, go talk to your brother. He knows people. Your sister can put you in the right direction. What about me? You piss people off. You have diarrhea of the mouth. You don't shut up. You can't hold down a job. And you're not qualified to go to college. So I said, screw it. I'm going to show you what's a disability. Look at what I'm able to accomplish on my own. And for 8 years, the student will be 8 years. I interviewed over 800, and thanks to you, it's 822 people. Unofficially, it's over 1,000. I met a lot of nice people who were willing to do the show again. I met a lot of assholes, so I'm like, yeah, they seem nice, but one of my favorite excuses is, my agent said and my publicist said I'm not getting any acting roles because I was on your show. You ask a lot of stupid questions. This one, I'm being sarcastic by this one. Yes. This is absolutely my favorite one. Yeah, since I was on your show, I've been getting death threats. What death threats? No one knows who the hell you are. Unless you're a drug dealer on the side or whatever. But it's kind of like, now because at the time, I'm like my grandfather, where I say, if I give you my word, my word's my bond. And I wasn't taking people with permission forms. And that's when the excuses were coming out. And my sister, my brother says, you're not a real talk show. You're not copyrighted. You're not trademarked. So I said, okay, I'm going to stick that into a nail in a coffin. I looked up a lawyer on LinkedIn, and I asked, can I ask you a couple questions? Luckily, he was a guest on my show, funny enough. He says, you do not have to be copyrighted because you've been doing this for a long time and people know who you are. You do not have to be trademarked because that's $2,000. But once you start making money, I would recommend getting yourself copyrighted. Well, trademarked. He said your biggest mistake is you're not having permission forms and having people, you tell people what the show is about. It says, do I have the right to interview you? I should have been doing that from the start. Instead, I was taking people by the word. So he wrote up a permission form for me. So pretty much I wrote my own, like, this is what the show is about. Can I interview you? Nice, but I can make it look more professional. So he rewrote it for me and made it my friend likes to say it looks like a contract. It's not a contract. It's just pretty much saying,
I give you permission. Yeah.
yes, pretty much. So it's have permission to interview you. And so, it came a long way for 8 years, 822 episodes. But like I said, this is not about me. But the other thing I want to ask you is you mentioned you were a writer. What were some of your favorite books or scripts that you ever written?
Some of the things that I've written, I haven't published my work. I plan to do that this year. But I was a foster kid. I grew up in and out of foster care. And I wound up on the street at 16 in my native New York. So I've written a lot about that. And my goal is to help foster kids who are navigating the system in some way. Also, a lot of people struggle sometimes with their early childhood experiences. So you don't have to be a foster kid, right, to have a tough go or a difficult start in life. But I do hope that through my writing, there's always a theme. I write a lot about people who are standing outside of society, underdogs, or people who are lost, who've lost a lot of things. That's all I know, right? But I do it with a sense of optimism, right? I have a lot of optimism. I have a wonderful life. I believe that we all, when we take over and choose to make the best decisions for ourselves, can have an incredible experience, just like you did with your show. Just like I did with, building a company that I didn't know I was building. So yes, I write poetry, I like fiction, nonfiction, and everything is about inspiring other people to be true to themselves, right? And not to give in to those demons that we all carry, because it's normal to have something that hurts us. And and to make peace with it. Oh, here go our construction friends. They're back.
But funny, I don't hear anything though.
Oh, you don't? Oh, they're making me crazy.
You should get some headphones to tune out the noise.
There goes my optimism right out the window. Pun intended.
But it's funny. First of all, you have a beautiful place. And for people who want to know those books behind you, out of all those books that you had, what were some of your inspirations?
I'm sorry?
Oh, inspirations.
Inspirations. Geez, there's so many. I would say the poets first. So for example, Rudyard Kipling, when I was a child, 13, 14, he wrote a poem called If. And for me, this poem, if you know it, it's like a guideline for living a good life, but it's meant for a boy. But I was a kid with a very difficult start, so I took it to heart, and that was the first inspiration. And then followed, Tolstoy and some of the classics, right? And then some of the modern writers, I guess Donna Tartt. She takes like a decade. She takes a good 10 years to write a book, but her books are amazing. And I have such a long list. I couldn't do justice. As a writer, you ask a writer, it's like asking a chef which ingredients do you like best. It's hard. You need all of them, right, to inspire you and to sometimes lift you up or give you some inspiration. They're all so different,
No, you're right. For me, I'm not a writer or anything, but some of my favorite book authors, Tom Clancy, David Valadalis. I think that's his name. I'm probably butchering his name. There's James Patterson. Those are the top three, bro.
You like action. You like some good, fun, fast action. I like it. Okay, good.
I think it was James Patterson or it was ever Tom Clancy. One of them knows someone in the government. So that's why when you read the book and then things actually happen, it's like, how did he know that? I give you an example. I can't talk. Part of disability. I give you an example. There's a book called Contagion. I can't remember who actually wrote it, but it's about a virus that escaped from a lab, and kind of we're living that now because if you into the whole conspiracy thing of where did this COVID-19 come from? Kind of came from a lab. So how did this book dictate what was going to happen? And this book was about 2018, 2019, and then like, actually, no, I'm sorry, 2017, 2018, and then like what, a year or so later, this happened.
Yeah.
Or they knew about September 11th before it happened. And there's a lot of things like that. It's kind of like, in The Simpsons too, a lot of people like to say, no, The Simpsons can tell the future. Trump being president, 9/11 supposedly, smartphones, FaceTime. And this is like back in 94, 98. And now we have smartphones and FaceTime technology. So it's pretty interesting how a show that's been on for almost 37 years dictated certain things that we are going through today.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's, when I speak to writers, they tend to be, consumed by a topic. Like one of my authors that I just published released a book on climate change. It's a political thriller, but it also has sci-fi in it, and it has a pandemic in it, and it has, and he's he released the first edition, and this was years ago, and now he re-released it with my press, the Brooklyn Writers Press. But he knew this was coming in a way. And it's just when you're so absorbed by a topic, you end up seeing it from so many angles where someone else might not, right? Because you're spending your days consumed by it. So I think that could be part of the answer,
True. And, there's presidents too that, always say there will come a day when there's a great pandemic. But the truth is, none of them did a damn thing about it. None of them, stockpiled masks and gloves and machinery. And, it's easy to blow smoke out of your butt and talk about it, but actually do something about it. But I'm going to make the show different. With the last 9 minutes left, I'm going to pass it over to you. Was there anything you wanted to promote? Anything you want to ask me? I have no cards on my sleeve, so you can ask me anything. And you make a new friend out of it.
Yes, I did make a new friend out of it, and I enjoyed this very much, Keith. I only have 3 minutes, unfortunately, because my life is extremely busy, and so is everybody else's, not to say. But I would say that I really respect what you're doing. I admire it. Please consider me an ally and a friend and a supporter. Absolutely. And what can I say? I think I stand to tell people, if you have, and this is not anything new, but we all carry something that we hope to bring to fruition, right? And so many of us, we're a slave to our phones and technology and all these things, so that I hope to say, whatever your thing is, whether it's books or film or theater or art or music or being a talk show host, just follow that impetus, follow that, and let it consume you, because the things that happen when you do that are just sort of marvelous. I mean, my life today is unbelievably different and amazing. I talk to so many great people like you, like authors or other creatives, and my life is so much richer for it. So I do hope that whatever I share today can inspire somebody to go for it. Whatever it is, just go for it. And yes, and if anybody wants to find out more about me at all, I'm at thebrooklynwritersco.com. Or if you're looking for a new read, a new book, thebrooklynwriterspress.com.
Well, absolutely. Now, wrapping up the show, I do have a question for you off the air. But make sure to like and follow the Keith Andrew Network or all over social media. Follow and sponsored by HB Gibson. If you're into entertainment, definitely check that out. And you're eating and drinking healthy, definitely check out Life of a Fighter. It's a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.